you've basically spent your career experimenting with, iterating on this idea of how you actually design the place, the space, the conditions for innovation. And I'm wondering if you can unpack that story a little bit and tell us about, how that came about, first in Mattel with Project Platypus and now through your work at the Gap. And maybe we can unpack a little bit, what does it mean to create those conditions, from the physical space to the freedom to explore, to some of the other elements and insights that you've packed into that model.
So the first thing I did was really to find a group of diverse people and spend time making meaningful connections so that people felt incredibly comfortable with each other, checking their egos at the door, and creating a field of trust. And then the next thing is to give inspiration or input to whatever the task is that we were about to accomplish. So like I said earlier, when I thought about when I was my most creative and I've invented techniques or in museum collections, it was really, I would ask myself that what if question, and then I would fill my mind with experiences, reading things, seeing things that was information that I believed would inspire me to think differently about the task I was taking on. So what I did with this group of people at Mattel, the question was, what if there was a brand that was funny? Because at the time, Wayne's World had come out, and I looked one day and I thought, wow, Barbie's not funny. She's cool, but she's not funny. So what is it that Mattel has that, that's funny right now? And I thought, if I was going to tackle this idea of creating a toy line that's funny, what input would I want to give myself? And so the first thing I thought about was, well, how did laughter even get started? So I found a professor of laughter at UCLA, and I found Moishe the clown that goes to third world countries and teaches people how to laugh. Because what I wanted to do is really go back and deep dive into all the information and new thoughts that I wanted to put into my head in order to solve the problem in a new way. So after creating these connections and bonds, which I believe equals trust and freedom, the next thing is to kind of inspire with new information, mental, visual, everything. Some of the other things, that I did was bring in someone who taught us really how to observe and have empathy with the consumer. So we actually watched a Japanese tea ceremony, because in a tea ceremony you really have to focus on every detail. And going through an exercise like that, we think we observe things, but we really don't. So this was a training in really how to observe, because I think oftentimes in companies we don't even realize, as executives, we have our own agendas and we are not empathizing with the customer. We're not looking at it through their eyes. And also I would bring in an improv artist who would teach how to build on each other's ideas without judgment, because another thing I think in companies I've watched, the word brainstorming, just I hate that word because it doesn't, make sense, in that I've watched the dynamics, and, you're sitting there with your peers or your boss, and you judge your idea before you come forth with it. And that's not tapping into the unconscious. In order to really tap into the unconscious, you have got to quickly, without judging, come out with what, the first thing that comes to mind. And so the improv artist would really teach some skills about how to build on each other's ideas. So we would start with a thought, and someone else would say something, silly, stupid, silly, brilliant, stupid, silly, brilliant, brilliant, that's it. And together, you really, when I first did this, I know some of the team was like, but I said something stupid. And I said, no, but because of what you said, someone else, that sparked on, someone else thinking of something that actually was brilliant. And the truth is, the collective created that idea. It's not, and that's so hard for people in companies to accept, that, the collective can co-create like that. And we're so compelled to wanting to get credit for that idea that I think we don't get to the right solutions either. But, and my employee's reaction about, oh my God, I said something stupid, is a prime example. She was horrified. But the truth is, spiraling through that circle of dialogue is what got us to the brilliant answer. And without her saying what she said, we wouldn't have gotten to the end result.